We're gonna go ahead and get started. Just want y'all to keep up Michelle's husband in your prayers. He's very sick. He's in the ICU. I've been texting her a little bit, and I don't think they really have figured out what's wrong with him yet, but maybe they have, but it's pretty bad. So just please keep Michelle and her family in mind. So Lloyd, would you please help me?
I want to talk to Father God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the people who are here. Guide this committee as they make decisions for the tribe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, Tamara.
Okay. Randy?
Here.
Lloyd?
Here.
Callie? Here. John?
Here.
Cameron present. Zach?
Here.
And Michelle is absent, excused.
All right, first up, we have the reading, correction, and approval of minutes and full reports. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Zach. Do you have a second? Second by Callie. Any discussion?
I have two corrections.
Two corrections for Lloyd.
Under donations, under Kevin, that should say last $500. Under the donation for land, Johnson, Jennings, that should say last $500.
So, do y'all accept the corrections?
Yes.
Any other questions to call for? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. Next, we have the treasurer's report. We have a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Lloyd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Randy. Any discussion? Any discussion? No discussion. I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. Next, we have the approval or the disapproval of the reports as submitted. We have a motion by Kelly to accept the reports as submitted.
Second.
We have a second by Zach. Any discussion?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. I do want to make a comment. I think we don't really think that the Learning Center at the downstream needs to more central boards in, because they're not into the BC and all that. It would make things easier for everyone. Yeah, okay with y'all. All right, program approach. First up, we have Carissa.
Hello, I'm Chris Berry, I'm the court clerk. Through December 1st and December 30th, there were two dockets held. The first docket for Judge Hammonds was held on the 5th. The second was held on the 18th, which was Judge Dalfit's. Judge Hammonds had 9 criminal cases on the docket. Judge Dalfit had 4 small claims, 2 protective orders, 3 confidential cases, and 2 child custody cases. We, in November, sent out all renewal letters for the Quapaw Bar Association for them to renew. So far, we've had 13 renewals. We just had one yesterday. And there have been 2 more added to the Bar Association. As of right now, we have 34 active attorneys. There are 7 inactive. Also, due to an increased confidential cases, we're actually going to be setting a new docket for those in the afternoons for each of the judges. So instead of those being at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. with all the other dockets, those are going to be at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, just to separate everything out. The law library is up and running, so if anybody ever wants to do research, we have a public access computer that will allow for you to research state enhanced and federal enhanced laws. We also have all of the Quapaw federal court codes and resolutions in there for anybody to look at.
Oh, that's cool.
In December, I attended a training for Tolowa and Balwa. It was kind of to understand how other tribes are enacting Balwa through their tribal court.
Could you explain what those acronyms are?
So with the Balwa is Violence
Against
Women's Act, and the Tolowa is the Tribal Law and Order Act. So with those, with Balwa, tribes are allowed to do criminal cases on a non-Indian who commits a crime against a Native American. So that way, we're kind of looking to see if we would be able to put that along in our court system if that case ever happened, so it wouldn't go to state court or federal, so we would be able to deal with it. The Travel Law and Order Act, it allows us to enhance travel sentencing from 1 year to 3 years, and from a $5,000 fine to a $15,000 fine. So it will allow for us to do more of the major crimes cases, such as assault and battery, murder, I'm trying to think, theft, and things around those lines. So we kind of just went to see how other tribes are doing it, how they've enacted it into their tribe. I know in our tribal codes there is a portion of it in there, so we just got to see all the steps we have to take in order to get that processed. So from the last time I was here, November 1st to December 30th, there's been 4 dockets held per each judge, so a total of 8 dockets. Judge Hammonds has heard a total of 30 cases, averaging 7.5 cases per docket, and then Judge Dalphin has heard 34 cases, averaging 8.5 cases per docket, totaling 64 cases heard between both of our judges in 4 months. There's been several new cases filed. We have a new administrative case that was filed, 2 criminal cases, 2 guardianships, a juvenile deprived, which is actually one of the, since I've been here, one of the first cases that's come from, it's been transferred from state to our court on an ICW matter. 2 protective order cases, 7 small claims cases, so totaling 16 new cases that were filed. There's also the 3 new attorneys that applied to the Bar Association, and they have been accepted. I have 1 on my desk that's waiting to be accepted through the MODOC Child Support Division. Sarah and I are in the process of working on another wills clinic. We've spoke to Oils. We're looking at the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of Powwow week to hopefully have 2 days that they would come down and to prepare wills. So once we know those dates, we'll basically just send those out on a flyer to everybody so they'll know what's going on. Their Uga'xpa is now, they've been in our court since 2017, but they now actively have 6 to 8 cases because they just took on a couple new cases this past week. And then Oils has 3 cases that they were just appointed to as a GAL to help assist in. And that's everything.
Oh, I toured the facility the other day, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's working out pretty well.
Yeah, it's nice. We're really happy with the way it turned out.
All right, anybody have any questions for Carissa? All right, well, thank you for coming. Tom?
Tom Stonehousing. We just started a new house south of Columbus. No housing duplexes, triplexes are full, ain't going good. Trailers are going good, we're just doing maintenance on request. Everything's doing real good, staying busy.
So, where's the house in Columbus, south of Columbus?
Mesa Road, about a mile, soon you go over the overpass, right before you get into Columbus.
Yeah.
You head back west, that's about a half mile right before the tracks.
So, what size, are they like 2 or 3 bedroom? Like-
It depends, like this one here, this is for a single lady, and so it's a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,100 square feet.
How many?
About 11. It's
Oh.
like 1,075.
Cool.
Pick out roof siding, colors, everything.
Does it have a garage?
They won't let us put garages, storage shed, stuff like that, especially just for the living. Well, they're
Cool.
pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah, I think new house is nice. Anybody have any questions for Tom?
I just have a quick question. My mom now lives in one of the devices. Yeah, I know. Well, I never noticed this before because I'd never really been around anybody that lived in those. And so, but there's not like a peephole and there's no screen or anything on the front door. So like, anytime I go, and my mom doesn't hear very well, I hope she's not in here.
She won't want to hear you.
No, I'm not talking, she's like, who is it? I'm like, it's me.
The
I mean,
peephole,
she can't see.
they just didn't put in, but before we had those duplexes, half of them wanted screens, half of them didn't, some of them.
I mean, I don't know, like a peephole or something, because they really
We
can't.
could put them in if you don't want them in.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think they should have peepholes, right?
They can't see though, because
Might
there's.
have to put them down pretty low.
Open or not.
Yeah, because you might want to know. I mean, I don't care. My door just because somebody says it's
Problem is,
me.
when she sees it's you, she's like, go away.
I just feel like that. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool to have peepholes. You might ask the people that live in it, they'll let you
They
in.
want them, we put them in, that's not.
time.
Doesn't take
Yeah.
long.
My mom will probably say, no, I don't need one.
That was a
I was
sweet.
just like, huh, that's a simple little thing that looks like a security thing.
Anybody else?
Tom, do you have a radius of how far out you go to build these homes?
Yeah, it's all of Ottawa County, and then if you get it to the tribal complex, you just go in Compass, we're going 50 miles into Missouri County. So it's basically this kind of side of Joplin, we'll go to Columbus, Stoughton.
So it's 50-mile radius from the office.
From the office,
Okay.
yeah, into Missouri County.
But not south.
That would include Joplin.
Well, that's why I said this side of Joplin up into Columbus, Stoughton.
So where's the, is there like a line in Joplin that's?
Now, if
like
we're
a-
getting somebody pretty close, we'll generally just pump, you know, click it up, and it'll tell you how many miles.
Oh,
It is,
okay.
it's still 50 miles from the office.
That seems like heck of a knowledge job.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah.
All right. Anybody else? You did a great job. Everything looks good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Michael? Mikhail?
Michael. He does it every time. Michael Richardson, CIO. We've been working with environmental, trying to remote read their air quality stations. We're getting some equipment so that way they don't have to go off the side, it just transmits back to their office.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
We had a demo with enrollment and social services about some software. Right now, these two software packages are kind of in silos, like we say, so they really don't talk to each other. We all know we have the address issue, so we're trying to resolve that address issue by bringing those two platforms together. Working over at the new building, we have a network issue over at the new building, communicating back with our building, but we should have that resolved next week. So,
Good deal. Does anybody have any questions about IT? Anybody need their phone looked at? All right, well, thank you very much for coming in, appreciate it. Trent? Chameleon? He looks different every time I see him.
Keep people from tracking me down. Trying to stand, see, we've been, crazy busy, basically from the resolving the court case, and then assisting with tying up, loose ends and finding folks with that. We got everything addressed for that, last week, the last one for request to our office, so we look forward to being able to try to catch up from downtime that we spent on doing that. We've got a new hurdle in front of us with TAMs. They're going to, the feed and trust acquisition process is all going to be auto-generated, like our new, the A&D module that they put in for sales and gift deeds and things like that, which we're just processing our first gift deed that's giving us fits, because then we're also subdividing the parcel and doing things that they don't teach you in the class that they send you to that you have to have before you get on there. So we're kind of blindly filling our way through a couple of those, but getting training for it is always an issue. They cancel classes, as you guys know, when they don't fill them up. But, we have now they're enacted a policy where you have to have a refresher course before you can take the training that you need.
But they canceled the refresher courses?
They haven't canceled that yet, because they just told us about this month. And so we have scheduled that training for the refresher, but the refresher is just that, it's a refresher. It's not a beginner's class. So my question to the Bureau was, what does it matter what class we take first if my people's never had it? Because if you read the training description for that refresher, it's basically for people that's had, Bureau employees that's had TAMs before. So, because they cut the 5 day, they used to have a 5-day beginner's course that they condensed down to now changing it to a 3-day refresher. That's
So you're trying to question the logic of the Bureau of Indian Affairs?
every day. As Chris has said, we've been some of those small claims courses or cases in court. I'm there pretty much every month now. taking people in, collect rent, mostly town lots.
That's
Had-
awesome.
Had our first person get an attorney in December, so I'm fighting him over, and he's really our smallest case that we're dealing with, but we felt like he didn't receive checks, which we have documentation of, so. That's our first interesting case in that everybody else just shows up or don't show up, and they say, yeah, I owe you, and they leave, and we get it collected. The Bureau of Indian Affairs Eastern Oklahoma region has just about wrapped up all the back leases that my agency did do. They were, well, the last one they're approving now was for a lease which should have started in 2018.
Jeez.
And that was the bond for the sign that we talked about. You emailed on. But Eastern Oklahoma region, they basically kicked it down to Justin Van to catch that up, and been really pleasant dealing with it. I wish we could.
So things are going better on some, like some of the easement stuff, that stuff's going better?
Yeah, we do have one out there remaining. It's actually two. There was one allotment, conservation easement that we have to get signed, but I've got to get back with the landowner to kind of try to work things out for her on the timeframes, because EPA wanted it to be, they're like, we can't remove it from the list if it's not a perpetual easement. She was wanting it 25 years and then renew that conservation easement. So I've got to go back and revisit with her, but I haven't had a chance to get back on that one. But yes, everything has been going better. Our sales and gift deeds and things, I mean, if you guys see the resolutions we have put through on those were really greased up over there and going well at the Bureau for some time. Now they've kind of lost that person, having to retrain, don't know how that's going to affect in the future. But with the Eastern Oklahoma region getting involved, they've really helped out.
Steve, can you answer a question relating to realty? Is there, since we've compacted realty, why do we have to deal with the Miami agency on it? Because if he didn't have to deal with them, things would get done a lot quicker.
Well, the secretary still has approval for
The
the
Bureau still.
But I mean, but he goes with the region though. I mean, he uses the region and they work really well and quick with him. But the Miami agency always tends to hold up stuff. So I don't know if.
But that's the government's choice. They have to have an officer.
So they say we have to use the Miami, we can't just work directly with the region? We
And-
have to?
That's something the tribe could raise in our next compact negotiations.
That's almost, I'd say probably 90% of things
There
get
are-
held up are because. they
Chairman
can't
Barry
see.
knows more about this than I do. There are some tribes over the years that have moved from their agencies to the region. I don't know if that's.
Daryl McCann just emailed me yesterday, asked me how things were going, if we had any problems, I'll maybe ask him if we could do that.
Yeah.
But you might wanna help me by telling me kind of what it is so I don't screw it up.
Right. And the problem has been, since Paul has left over there, has just been staffing. That's what, when we had a call, right, when we had a call with Daryl that last time, I'm like, they need people is the issue, but then now they're just not keeping folks.
They should consolidate it into the eastern region.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Rhonda, she really wants to work with me and get things done, but then her knowledge is limited. She's learning on the fly, that's why we have to go to because I'm like, it's like this, she don't know, so we gotta get
Yeah,
ahead on the line.
he's training Ron.
So, she's gotten better, but then her folks are still behind, so.
Let me know, just, I think February, maybe the first week of February, I'm gonna go see him. Yes, sir.
If that's something the tribe wants to put on the agenda for compact negotiations, we probably really need to start early. I don't know, May, June,
Yeah,
because
we'll start with just asking Daryl if we could just bypass him and see what he says. The director might just let us do it. But if not, we'll put it in the compact negotiation. I mean, in some ways, that might help him with his shortage of staffing, right? So, I don't know, there's positives in it. And I'm serious, he just texted me Friday, and he just emailed me and said, hope everything's going good, let me know if I can do anything.
Okay. Yeah, I can start having some.
I think he helped us by moving some of those easements away.
Right.
so he's a good guy.
Harold Simmons, some of you may remember him, he's the BLM employee
Yeah.
at Eastern Oklahoma region. He's been working on our jurisdictional line between us, Peoria, Miami, southwest corner area, so I guess Miami's been doing speed of trucks down there and having issues with defining the reservation line. He's between the Miamis and Peorias, I guess, was wanting a nicer monument in that southwest corner, more easily found, something. He was just talking, like I said, Quapaw on one side, Peoria, however that line goes.
Where is that? What's
Prairie Sun?
oh, yeah.
Is it right now just one of those, like,
Yeah, well, right now they had to find the old one,
yeah,
and so,
and check it too, probably, because technology's
right,
changed.
he's been out there for a few months, relining all that, but, he's to the point now that he's put his minimum requirements down for corners and stuff.
So is it like west of, or west
Yes,
of Prairie Sun?
yeah, it'd be west. Prairie Sun, pretty much in front of that property, that road is the
The
boundary
line,
line,
yeah.
yeah.
So then, okay, I'm asking because you know I live out in that area.
You go for sun every night.
Yeah, I know, I walk, I don't know that close, but so I'm just curious, like, I think I've asked this before, though, the road I live on, is that the boundary then, or is it back? Well, we can talk about it later, I'm sorry, we don't talk about this now, I'm sorry.
Exactly where you're at.
Okay.
No, they should drag Jeff back on our land.
Already, yeah, I wanna make
Choke
sure-
him
Commit the
down.
crime there. Yeah.
Just wanna know which way to drag you.
No. And then so he was wanting to propose that in the next few weeks to see if you guys wanted to go in with Peoria's and put
Make
some
a
money in.
fancy monument.
Right, yeah. And then he found a 1870 something stone that's been chiseled, I guess, on one side has QT, the other side has PT, and he has to, I guess, document, since he found that, what he does with it. He either puts it back where
Where
it
is it?
needs to be. I don't know if it's in his possession or what now, but he has to put in his transcript what he did with it. He was kind of proposing putting it, he just, because he didn't know where, he was like, well, maybe it could go on display at the ITC building, but he just had, or museum, he was just wanting to let us know he found it and see if there's anything specific.
Did he dig it up?
He found it on the line, I don't know how he found it.
Who
He
owns
just,
the property?
I believe it's Field
Just
Land.
the owner?
Yeah, it was just west or east of, the main road coming out of Miami.
I don't know.
But I did meet with, the ladies, I guess, that came last business committee meeting over the memorial and picture. Basically, they're wanting, I don't know how much they relayed last month, but they're wanting it at the old post office, which we do have through the buyout. We received that, and it's already slabbed there. They're just wanting to be able to clean up and put 3,
Panels.
yeah, and then was hoping that the tribe would want to put one up for the tribe itself.
Yeah, I think we said we wanted to do that. I think our concern was, do we need an easement, a lease, or can we just say, yeah, you can put it on our property?
I think that you can, being that fee property, I don't know what the legalities would be
We
for.
wouldn't want to give up
having
ownership
people
of the
come
land
in.
underneath.
No, and they don't want, from visiting with them, they didn't really want anything other than it just to be there. And they planned on maybe at some point phasing in some benches, to put out in front
We'll
of.
trade them for that rock.
So,
You know, and I was gonna ask Henry, he might be interested in helping out on that as far, because, I mean, he's from Pitcher, right? And Quapaw, so he might be interested in helping out, like, write the Quapaw history part of it. And that's just a suggestion if everybody would,
Yeah.
I think that would kind of, do you know what we're talking about? They're going to put a monument.
Right,
You know
right.
about that, right? So maybe you could kind of communicate with Henry, maybe he could work with that group a little bit and,
yeah, and they wanted, some help moving the flagpole from the old soccer field that they got given to them. I guess there's flagpoles, because they want to put it in the middle. And then, A rock.
You
There
just,
was a big
you
rock.
can either
by
cut it
the-
off at the ground
Yeah,
and make it
that's what-
shorter, or you could
Yeah,
dig it up and have a big clod of concrete on it. They'd probably be better off just cutting it
Cutting it
off at
off.
the ground and then just, burying it 3 feet, it'd be just a shorter pole.
Does Brev own the soccer fields?
yeah, he's the one that
okay.
said
And he
that
said
he
that,
could
yeah,
have it,
okay.
yeah. And then there was a couple big rocks there, I guess they just want to put out, and then the gorilla
Yeah.
moved it.
That's the one from John Garner's house though, right?
No, it's the one on the corner down by the fire.
Oh,
Fire
see,
station.
that's
That's
It's
ours.
like-
that one.
Yeah, they had some issues
I saw
with,
Jeff trying to load it up.
they wasn't even approaching Garner.
Oh, I thought that's when they were talking about
They,
it.
I guess, did in some past conversation, and that was.
Okay, they were back. Yes, way back gorilla.
No, no.
I bet we could work with him with QSA to move that stuff.
Well, Brev works for QSA.
Yeah,
He's the.
yeah, they can just cut that pipe off.
The guy that owns that land.
That's
Cool.
outside of little request stuff, so.
And I don't know, we're getting closer finally, as you might have seen on the internet, that we're getting closer to settlement, and we could have never got it without Trenton's help. I don't know how many hundreds of hours that Trenton put into that case, working with Wendy and Steve and.
And
his team,
Marzulas.
the Marzulas, and Marzulas are very difficult to work with, and that's as nice as I could put it. But,
That's a nice to put it.
I really think everyone should know that a lot of the heavy lifting was done by Trenton, and we're extremely grateful for that.
Appreciate it. Any questions?
All right, thanks for coming in, Trenton.
You're welcome.
All right, Mandy. Well, Mandy's getting ready to, last week or the week before, Temple Grandin, Dr. Grandin was here to look at our cattle and dogs and stuff, and she sat with Mandy for a while and we toured the facility. And it was really enlightening for me to sit and listen to, I kind of forget all the stuff that Mandy has to deal with. Everybody thinks they have a hard job, but I think Mandy probably has the hardest job of everyone in the tribe. She has to deal with a lot of painful issues with children. And I don't know how she does it, because it's hard stuff, but I just wanted to tell you that I was so impressed by the conversation that they had. It was very enlightening, so I appreciate it.
Right now, we have 36, I have 36 cases, which is the lowest I've had, one of the lowest numbers I've had in 5 years, so that's a good thing. 8 siblings were adopted out last month by relatives. I have 3 more Quapaw children in adoption status. I licensed 1 in foster home. We have 4 general assistance clients and 2 direct employment clients. Our youth program, which is ran by Billy, she's having parenting classes right now, language classes, and in April she will host a youth language program. Between our 2 domestic violence and sexual assault programs, we have a combined total of 25 clients. And then I have 2 resolutions passed.
Will you do me a favor and tell the story about how when the state was involved, we were gonna lose those Quapaw kids, but since you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I worked for the state for 8 years before coming here to the tribe, and I've been here about 5 years. And it was my first opportunity here at the tribe to ever do something like this. It honestly, it meant a lot. It made me feel really good about working here for the tribe and what I get to do here, because it was something I never would have got to do with the state. The state will not license anyone who has any criminal charges, regardless of how minimal or severe they are. And this grandma 10 years ago had a drug charge. She had never been in any more trouble. Nothing's ever happened since then, but and she had pretty much raised her 2 granddaughters. Well, the parents got in trouble. The 2 little girls were taken into custody, but they refused to give the 2 girls to the grandma. She couldn't be a placement because of her drug charge 10 years ago. And so I was able to, with Truman's help, I was able to intervene in that case, get it transferred to tribal court with the approval of both judges and the parents. and it was transferred, and the tribe got to place these 2 girls with their grandma, who will now get to do a guardianship. You know, if the tribe wasn't able to intervene, these kids would have been adopted by non-Indians and never would have known would never have seen their grandma again, most likely, until they were of age. So not only did they get to stay in contact with their family member, you know, if their parents ever decide to, you know, straighten up, maybe they'll get to keep a connection with them in the future. But it was something that I was able to do to keep these kids connected with their family and their grandma, who was primarily raising them anyways, and then instead of them being adopted out by strangers who are not tribal as well.
And did like the 4-year-old give them directions like to the house?
Yeah, one's 2, one's 4. I picked them up from the foster parents' house, and which I had my GPS on anyways, I wasn't relying on the 4-year-old to tell me how to get there. But she was like, you're gonna turn right up here, and then you're gonna go over here and turn left, and she's like, it looks like a big castle. It was a big brick apartment building. But yeah, she told me how to get to her grandma's. That's how familiar she was with being there. Very intelligent, sassy little girl.
Quapaw.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I just think that's a great story. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing it.
thank
It's
you.
just really pretty interesting stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mandy? All right, thank you, Mandy. Next up, we have Tim Cant.
I don't have any stories to follow that, really. Yeah, I'm Tim Cant, I'm the environmental director. Of course, most of you know my biggest issue is Tar Creek Superfund site. I think you have my report, but I'll just kind of go over the high points. Calendar year 2019, the Quapaw tribe, of course, the Quapaw tribe took over all the cleanup. And we removed 1.04 million tons last year of chat. And to date, we've cleared over 500 acres of land that's been transferred from, you know, being covered with chat to, you know, agricultural use by the tribe and tribal members. We received in 2019 $13 million from EPA for the cleanup, and this year we're on schedule to receive about 15 million. So we're staying busy.
So we have a visitor coming, right?
Yes, Andrew Wheeler, who's head of EPA in Washington D.C., he's going to be coming here February 13th and 14th, you know, to see what we're doing. So it's going to be a good opportunity to showcase, you know, what we can do. You know, we're the first tribe to ever take over cleanup of a Superfund site. So, and I know Region 6 is impressed with the way we've been doing it. So we'll get a chance to showcase that nationally. So that's exciting. The other thing we got going, February 4th and 5th, we got DIA funding to host a tribal resilience workshop at Downstreams. You know, as you all know, lately, the last few years, we've kind of been experiencing some extreme, you know, climate events. And, you know, this is sort of just a workshop to kind of showcase how we can respond to those. And we've got a lot of good speakers coming in. You know, what can we expect going forward? So it's going to be, and there's going to be speakers from all over the country coming in. So if anybody's interested, get a hold of me. I've got an agenda.
Where is that going to be held at?
Downstream. So, especially DC members, if I might want to talk one of you into just coming maybe and giving a little opening remarks. I don't know if Chairman's going to be here, but
yeah,
I'll check with Tina. Yeah, we're excited about that. Other than that, the one kind of sticky issue we're dealing with is, you know, when we inherited all the land at Pitcher, luckily, we got an underground storage tank site that we inherited, and we got contacted by the state of Oklahoma on, it's the old Rascal's truck stop, and they want to know.
What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
They gave it to us now.
Yeah, so
Can we just fill it with concrete?
Well, it's above ground storage tanks, and they were removed, but the other thing is the piping's still in the ground. So, you know, you have to have a licensed contractor come in and do soil sampling to see if they've leaked or anything like that. But, you know, Steve and I kind of talked about, you know, we inherited that.
Is that the only one though? I figured there might be
There's
some
more.
There's more, but they haven't identified them?
There's one that was on the corner of 69 and Tay.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
The farmer's market.
Yeah, but that's on
Farmers
restricted
market.
property, so they're not.
Yeah, ironically, that's on restricted property, so they'll never contact us about that one. But this is unrestricted fee land, so,
Can we put it in trust?
well, hopefully nothing's leaked out of it, you know, we're just gonna, I thought maybe we would just get a contractor to do the sampling, you know, and just see what's out there, you know. You know, I think we have an argument to say, hey, you know, we inherited that because EPA wanted us to take all this property, you know. It was with the buyout.
So we can turn it into cash from the EPA?
Yeah, we're looking into it, but I mean, it's kind of a sticky issue, but, well, I'll let you know when we find out on that, but, other than that, I think that's about it.
Well, you've done a good job. It's pretty exciting to have the administrator come. I look forward to it.
Yeah, hopefully,
Hopefully they'll find some money in the cushions of the couch when they get back home afterwards.
yeah.
I didn't mention it either, but Bird Dog started.
Oh, right, that's right. Bird Dog, which is a $17 million project. I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with the Bird Dog, the old Bird Dog pile, which is,
So they're north, kind of west side.
right, north, west of Pitcher.
Yeah.
We're almost on the state line, but it was one of the original, central mills, you know, they brought all the chat there to the central mill site. It's huge. But a lot of it's in the floodplain, and it's gonna be a 3-year project. It's gonna be a tough one,
But the remedial design is for the solar field, still sort of.
right, yeah, I hope, we've still got, they called yesterday and they're still talking to, GRDA. I think probably Google is kind of negotiating with them on a price, so as soon as we hear back from that, we'll know whether to go, so.
So we're hoping to remediate it to where it can be a great spot for a solar site, and then we'll send the electricity to the power line that's about, what, a little mile from there.
Yeah, about a couple miles, the one over by,
So, and some of those easements might help us too, get the power there. Then the hope is we'll have a little box that the power goes through called Quapaw power, and we'll be able to add a couple of cents or whatever it is, and make a little money off of it as it goes into GRDA's power line.
yeah, we've got a lot of facilities that use electricity, obviously, so we get a discount too.
We've also been talking to GRDA about bringing a line to downstream because of Liberty just keeps jacking up the price. It's unbelievable. I just saw in Missouri, they're having another big jump. It's terrible.
Every year.
So, you know, look, a lot of people like downstream, yeah, we absorb it, it hurts us, but it's the people that are on fixed incomes, elderly people, you know, handicapped people. Their electric bills are going out of sight. It's unbelievable. Over the last 10 years, it's probably gone up 60–70%, which is a lot if you're on fixed income. So we're trying to get away from Liberty, and this is helping us kind of establish a relationship with GRDA. Anybody have any questions for Tim?
For Trent and Tim, we're trying to cut out another acre over here. Does the tribe, or can the tribe now authorize the land samples instead of sending it all the way out to Colorado or waiting 2, 3, or 4 months for them to send it back saying it's clean?
Is this for?
For a partition?
Yeah, because mine took forever because it went out to Colorado.
What are you sampling for?
They did the soil samples to make sure there was no lead and all that.
If it's restricted property coming through my office, that's not required. Because it's already restricted. That would only be required if it was coming in.
Because when we had to do it a couple of years ago, it took this long to get it. I was just curious as you know, we're cutting out another acre for my sister, and I didn't know if that would help any or not, because we had to wait for.
No, maybe what you could be referring to is the survey itself, but that was tied up from a cadastral survey being completed that drug that out, because he couldn't complete that survey.
And they
until
were sending those to Colorado or something at the
Yeah.
time. They had the
Right.
Cadastral Survey Office in Lakewood. So I don't know if that's more than likely what it was, not soil testing, but getting the cadastral survey. Cadastral is just like a government term for, a survey, and they gotta have some guy review it for language, like someone in a title plant would do.
For the other one, you won't have any issues with soil sample.
Okay, well, that's what I was curious. My dad
So it
was
just needs to
asking
be surveyed, and then it has to be reviewed by a surveyor.
Yeah.
But they've expedited that process some.
And we already have that portion done. We're just trying to get it set to new A&D module now, because we gotta separate 2 tracks out of a track, so we're trying to wrap that up, figuring out how to do it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, Eric. Kill your deer.
Good morning, everyone. Some of these numbers are gonna sound funny, but I'll explain it. December, we had revenue of 2.1 million, bringing our total for the fiscal year, first 3 months of the fiscal year, to 11.4 million. Actual expenses for December was 5.7 million. That's a lot. Total for the year, fiscal year, is 10.1 million. Of that $5.7 million in expenses, we retired $4.1 million in debt. That was the note that we took out to build the pavilion at Downstream. That was a 20-year note. We were 4 years into it. We had savings stashed away. The business committee decided to retire that debt and just get rid of that.
So that's good. So what happens is the Downstream leases the pavilion from the tribe. And those payments were going to make the note payment. So now that we've paid off the note, the payments are gonna still go to the tribe, but it'll be not for debt service, they could use it for other things.
Absolutely.
So instead of paying interest on something, now they just have free cash. It was only free, but they have money that's coming in that they don't have to flip back out the door.
Basically, we were paying $250,000 in interest every year. We eliminate that, all that lease revenue comes in, it becomes, unrestricted and useful for other things, so. Tribal member health benefit for December, expenses were $435,000, bringing the total for the first quarter to 1.4 million. Social services for December was 110,000, bringing our total for the year to 366,000. Now, January 1, new funding cycle, those expenses are gonna be increased a lot here in the next 6 months, as people start using their renewed benefit. Education for December, expenses were 83,000, bringing our total for the first 3 months of our fiscal year to 105,000. Again, the spring funding cycle is in full swing right now, so those expenses will be increased this month and next month as students send their application in. So the tribal enterprises distributed $500,000 to the tribe in December, bringing our total for the year to $2 million. And they are doing very well in that regard. We're way ahead of schedule as far as what we had budgeted to get from them, so hopefully that trend continues as the environmental work gets lined up and funded, and as long as the weather holds up, we're able to work. If we can work through the winter, at least at 80%, that's a whole lot better than sitting here all winter waiting for it to come up. So that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else? Any questions?
You're doing a great job.
All right, thank you.
How's the call rate on insurance? Is it going down?
Oh, a lot better, yeah.
Yeah, it's taking a while, and I know everybody hates it, but it's getting better, and we're spending a lot less money in administrative fees to get more money out the door to tribal members, and we're still looking at some form of like a flex card or something, so you have a set amount, it would be, have parameters of use to medical only, that way it's not divided up into dental, vision, whatever, but it takes a while to kind of figure that out, so we're hoping in the next year or so we'll come up with some plans to have more of a flex card. The problem is if we give $5,000 flex cards to every tribal member, that's $25 million. Right now, what's the utilization right now? Is it 60%?
As far as who's using our current,
Yeah,
it's at like 60%, yeah.
so we're at 60% utilization. That means of the 5,000 tribal members, we only have 60% using their medical benefit. Our fear is if you give everybody, hey, you got $5,000 to spend on prescription drugs, whatever you want, it'll go from 60% to 100%, and it'll be $25 million a year, which we would like to do that. It's just, we gotta find a way to make sure we have that constant $25 million. And hopefully stuff like Saracen and things like that will help lead to that.
Well, we also, from October of 18 to October of 19, what the utilization went up quite a bit. There was over
Yeah, it went from
300
40% to 60%.
Yeah, so there's those expenses are pretty much the same as they were, but we're helping, you know, 300 or 400 more people, so it just, so we, I guess it looks like we're saving money, but we're spending the same amount of money. We're just serving more people with the same amount of money.
All right, subcommittees, any subcommittees?
Other than we're doing good.
Good deal, you all always do
And,
good.
and we've got some that really need some help that we're in the big time. Not just some that don't wanna work. And I may get in trouble for saying that.
Well, no, that's how you really, that's the beauty of y'all are a great membership, because y'all are pretty tough, you know, and really you have to be tough. And y'all do a very good job. Yes, Grace?
I just wanted from the elders committee to first thank business committee for getting in touch with Downstream, because we had a lovely evening.
It was awesome.
And so we had about 200 people there. We had live entertainment, we had food. It was just a lovely evening. And so I
Everyone
hope
got a
that-
blanket that we got from a tribal member.
And I just hope that you'll convey to Downstream our thanks.
Yeah, we will.
Thank you.
And Tina. Tina is the rock behind that stuff. She does a good job. The food was good. Service, Debbie did a great job. It was a great, it was a great event.
We had live music.
Yeah. I didn't see anybody dancing to the harp though.
Well, we missed that.
All right, new business. We've got some tribal tag designs. We asked for, we were gonna talk about it on a phone call, but I thought it'd be a lot easier if we just looked at them together. I guess this is kind of the current one. Is that the current one?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, the separate one's the current one.
Okay. What's the difference? Oh, okay, this is the new one, this one they've removed the logo, that's one option. Recommended cleaner, room for more numbers, similar to the current plate. Then we have some other options that are starting to get, I still like this one. You know, it's fun when you're driving down the highway in like Little Rock and you see one, and you drive next to them, you wave, they look at you like you're an idiot. So, I don't know if y'all have copies of these, I think we could pass around. Some of them get kind of cluttered, I think.
And these were all recommendations from the company. That's why that top one, Melissa was wanting to really recommend that top one because the fact that it's cleaner, we can add more numbers.
I
Whereas
have a
with,
question about, and I know you probably can't answer this, but maybe you can find out from Melissa. Is there a reason, I mean, that we can't like reuse numbers once a car is out of service or whatever, you know, can we not go back and?
it's because it's
pull
in the
that?
system. Something about it being in the system that they can't reuse numbers.
Well, because they're afraid that if someone takes an old plate and pulls it out and sticks it on a vehicle,
People don't return their plates.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
buy them on eBay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
if you go back to Melissa and say, hey, I sold this vehicle or I no longer have it, she can change the registration.
Oh,
'Cause I
right,
do
so
it
then,
because I
It
used
can
to.
be,
I
that's,
got that too.
that number can be re-registered to another
Right, you just
vehicle.
maintain your own plate, and she tells us, or she's always told me, never to get rid of them. Keep 'em.
So even if I had an old plate and put it on my car, if it got ran, it wouldn't register to me, it would register to someone else.
Right,
Okay,
so you
so-
get it
Until it's
re-registered.
re-registered with
I
us.
see, so it could work then, and maybe
I
that's a
sold
way to
one
prevent
sold
adding,
one.
you know, we're gonna end up with, 10 numbers on here or whatever.
Like if a tribal member chooses to leave the plate on their I'll use an example. My son just bought a motorcycle that belonged to a tribal member. Actually, they just swapped the vehicle, I believe is what happened. Anyhow, both vehicles had tribal plates on them. They left them on there and just changed the registration to the new owners of each vehicle. So that number can be reused.
Right.
It's just re-registering it to a different, a tribal
I
member.
like that whole says it.
You know, if I had a number that you wanted, then, you just change the registration number, submit it for change
So
the
maybe it's something
registration.
we can look at, then we don't have to worry about like taking off the logo. I like the logo on it, I don't know about anybody else, but.
Is anybody, so this is the recommended one, this is the current one. I like the current one, you know?
I like the logo.
Is anybody against the current one, or wanna look at any of these others?
So it would be the second one that you guys would want to adopt, because it has the Quapaw Nation, whereas that current one says Quapaw Tribe.
Well,
Would-
yeah, it would
You
be,
could put
it would be
tribe.
this with Quapaw Nation logo on it. Is that on the Federal Register yet? Can we start using it?
No, I was going, where's Steve Ward? I was
Okay.
going to, oh, okay,
Siding.
because we need to make sure, because isn't it published in February? Because we submitted it all last time like 3 times, and they kept losing it.
Yes, ma'am, I've been watching,
Okay, good.
ordinarily, you never know, it's not published regularly, but usually around this time, between now and
I
February.
mean, I don't even think the highway patrol's gonna care, are they? So, anybody, or is it, I think, it sounds to me like people like, Randy, what do you got?
Just the veterans flag, something deal. I showed it to him, and we're not too, it's not very,
Oh, it's too fancy,
no.
or it's
You
too
need to
whatever?
have the American flag somewhere.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that one. I mean, I'm not a veteran, but I'm not,
don't belong
maybe you
on
guys
there.
can work on it.
Yeah.
Henry's gonna quit cuddling, you got some jobs.
The only thing that was ever brought to my attention, with regards to what is on the plate is that the numbers are of a certain size, that they are of reflective material so that they can be read. Like our old ones are not reflective, so they're not
No, you might not.
they're not readable unless you guys are right up on them, and they fade off. The other thing was that it had to have Oklahoma on it, if that's where the tribe was, Quapaw Tribe of Oklahoma or Quapaw Nation, Oklahoma, because if it was not into OLEDs, they would have a state to go back to track it back to.
So
In
we
the
need
event that
to
it was out of state.
keep, we need to keep Oklahoma on it,
What
right?
if, we do have to.
Does that make sense too?
It has to have Oklahoma, I mean, I don't know, why does it have to have?
It could say Quapaw Nation, just put Oklahoma, it doesn't have to
But
say
it
O.
has to say
Yeah.
Oklahoma? I'm just wondering, because we have land in Kansas.
And that's what
and
I was,
everywhere else, so,
that's what I was told.
yeah.
We're still trying to figure out if, since we have land and trust in Kansas, if we could get Quapaw tags.
Maybe Steve can help us with that too.
How would we do that? This is through a compact,
There
right?
are tribes in Kansas that have.
We don't have a tag compact.
Right, we don't have a tag compact, but there are tribes in Kansas that have tags. So,
I will give you,
I would love to do that. I mean, I would,
So why can't we just do it in Kansas?
I will give the tribes some quick legal guidance, but I don't see any reason we can't issue tags
I think
for
it would
use in
be,
Kansas.
Yay, you do that, let's do
I
it.
think it would have, and of course, somebody can
I
correct
vote
me.
for Arkansas
Heck,
tax.
heck, yeah.
Somebody
We
can
did
correct me if I'm wrong.
Look what you started.
Look, these people get crazy about this stuff.
I got my nationwide fishing license.
Really?
And yes, with regards to, Kansas or even Arkansas, I think the only issue that we would have there is that if that would be jurisdictional rather than statewide for the state of Arkansas or statewide for the state of Kansas. Because, the whole state is not Indian country, so to speak. And that's how the original,
But Oklahoma City's not Indian country.
No, that's, but
but that's how it was passed
that's how
as
it's passed.
the original, the case that won was based on what is Indian country.
So that's why we're able to do them all throughout Oklahoma.
But Steve
rather
Ward
than-
says we
Because,
could do
right,
it
we
on
took
Kansas
on the
City.
entire
In
state.
Arkansas, okay, what about Missouri? Can we do?
And I think if we.
He said,
Similar to how Cherokee Nation originally done theirs jurisdictionally, and it was only in this jurisdiction. You know, you could live in one county and get Cherokee Nation tags, but you couldn't live in this county over here and get them. Where now they have changed that. Right, the river was a boundary line and stuff, but they have come back now and issued across the river. And do you know if they're if they're? Yeah, I don't know if they end up being totally statewide now or not, but that's the only thing that I would see that in those areas that we may just end up being jurisdictional and not statewide, where in Oklahoma we are statewide. But I
so
would
the
love to.
registration, we just put Steve said.
I mean, you know.
We'll ask Melissa, maybe we could think about that, because there's a lot of members that live in Kansas, and Arkansas, and Missouri.
There's,
Oh, yeah.
That state line used to go up behind the streets back.
Yep.
it seems like there's two tribes that issue tribal tax and things.
Okay, so Randy, you gonna work on the veterans plate with Henry?
You're done on that veterans bill, you don't have a,
American flag,
you
right?
don't have a handicap
So we need a handicap,
to go on there.
we need a handicap plate, we need a veterans plate. And it sounds like the consensus is the old plate with just the new logo and take of off, Quapaw Nation, just put Oklahoma on there or Kansas, or just leave it blank. I don't know, we'll have to check that. Do you know if we have to put Oklahoma on there?
I don't believe we have to, because we do not have a compact with the state. I think what Deb is saying is right. They would like for us to, because it does help identify. But when the have to part, I don't think the tribe is under a state
Right,
obligation at all.
we're not under a state compact.
It is to-
But that was like a Department of Public Safety that had told me that, as well as law enforcement.
And it is to our advantage to work with the state to the extent we
Right.
can, but I don't think it's a have to. I think we might, Deb, if you have the guidelines the state would like for us to use, I think that should be considered. Because our police have quite a bit of interaction with the state, and we don't want to get into a situation where there's an unnecessary conflict.
Right,
Like
I
we
know
have
the plates
now?
have to meet the Department of Transportation, Department of Transportation and Department of Public Safety standards. I know that's part of
Yeah,
how,
now
what's
the
designed.
governor's floating legislation that gives the Able Commission the ability to come on site and audit. So we're working hard to kill that legislation before it gets out of a committee.
I was in a meeting yesterday, and that was a big discussion. We do have a lot of friends in the Senate.
Yeah. Got
and
some that aren't
representatives
friends, too.
said that bill is actually dead on arrival, but it's still got to come to them.
Yeah. Well, the governor doesn't pass legislation, the legislature does.
Let's go pick at the governor.
So yeah, he's trying now. Well, I think the big thing is that they're gonna accept their 2019 payment, but the big question is gonna be when our first quarter 2020 payments due. Are they gonna take it or not? And there's no way there's gonna be legislation passed prior to that happening. So is he just gonna reject those checks?
Now, he's still got to do his state and state and put his fiscal budget before, and that's a big cut right there.
So you're
Is
gonna
he
knock
gonna
off
accept-
140 million bucks?
Yeah, is he going to accept or deny, so.
So I don't know if you're following it, Governor Stead is trying to, he said the compact expired January 31st, 2019. The tribes believe it auto-renewed for 15 years. There are several triggers within the compact that we believe all were met. It's different things. They gave, they renewed the casino licenses and racings at Remington and Will Rogers Downs, which are owned by tribes. They allowed gaming and a fee to trust in the panhandle of Oklahoma for the Shawnee tribe, which qualifies for another governmental action. So there's things that the past governor and the state has done over these 15 years that would make the compact auto-renew. So we had dogs out in front, marshals out in front of all of our casinos on New Year's Eve. I threw the dice at midnight just to show that we still had Class 3. I think every tribal leader in the state pulled a slot machine handle or did some kind of Class 3 activity after midnight. The Chickasaws, Choctaws, and Cherokees have filed a suit against the governor. We've been in discussion on whether to do an amicus brief, which would just be sort of putting our thoughts into the court or intervening. I talked to Governor Anatovy and the chief of the Cherokees and Hoskins, and they're interested in the Quapaws joining. They've worked with Connor and Winter, and they just don't want a bunch of smaller tribes, but they would like representation from the non-5 tribes to be part of the litigation, so we're still talking about that. But it's getting goofy, and I don't really understand what he's up to. He hasn't signed our compact with the state of, or the city of Quapaw yet, even though we provide law enforcement for the city, we write tickets for the city. So he's neglecting to do his job by signing that compact. We let a compact for the Choctaw tribe lapse, which Choctaw tribe buys a fishing and hunting license for every tribal member, and they split that with the state. That was about $3 million to fish wildlife for Oklahoma, which has hurt their budget. And he just keeps getting goofier. It's not getting any better, it's getting weirder. But we are hearing that the legislature is really not wanting this to happen. You know, 15 years we've become good friends with a lot of legislators because we help finance their campaigns. So it's going to be a weird, probably 6 months, I think, until we really know. They sent us audit letters that they want to commit audits. We told them they didn't have any jurisdiction under the compact. They want to get audited by nationally known licensed auditors, and their nexus is they get to review the audits, and if they have an issue, they can question the audit. But they cannot come on our property and demand to do an audit because they just can't do that. So I don't know where it's going to end. It's very odd. We think it's kind of a Trump cowboy move where he's trying to shake us up. Because what's still out there is house bank poker. Currently poker's banked by players, so we can't really pull much out of that pool. We get a small little bit for like minimal. It's not a money maker, but if we house bank the games, we could make a little money. And then there's still sportsbook, and he's kind of waving that in our face right now. That's one of the things. I will tell you, at Saracen Annex, sportsbook, it's not making a lot of money, but it's super busy. It's unbelievable how many people get it. We didn't think it would be that busy. We even had to move the kiosks because there were so many people lined up at them. They were blocking out some of our slot machines, so we relocated them so the line goes a different way. So that's kind of what's going on with the state. It's very odd right now. I was talking to Bill Follis the other day. The governor called all of us. He called me and left a message, and I just texted him back and said, "Sorry, I missed your call. I'm real excited. Did you call to tell me you signed our compact for law enforcement in Quapaw, in the city of Quapaw?" And he didn't respond. When he was talking to Chief Follis, the governor said, I don't think you want to talk to me, do you? And he's like, no, because he was reading in the riot act, and they hung up. So he's not getting a very warm reception from the tribes. One thing he's done well is he's brought us all together. I've been to several meetings where there's been as many as 34 tribes represented by their elected tribal leaders. There are 2 tribes signed an extension on the compact that neither of those tribes had gaming. It's just some weird, it was weird. I don't know what he promised them to sign that. I think it was the UKVs and I don't know who the
town.
Oh, Uga'xpa, that's a creek town.
Uga'xpa, yeah.
Uga'xpa, yeah.
Neither of them have gaming, so I don't know what extending the compact, that it doesn't hurt us or worry us at all. So we'll just kind of stay tuned on what's going on. It's in the papers a lot, so we'll see how it goes. We're running some ads in Tulsa talking about how much the Quapaw Nation provides the city of Quapaw to the community, through public safety, through food, through healthcare, through a lot of things that we do that people don't really understand. So we're trying to get that message out. The update, Steve, you want to just give an update on the cases? I posted on the website. You know, Trenton could probably attest to this. If a government employee doesn't really want to do something, it's really hard to make them do something, right? So we have lawyers at the Department of Justice that we believe are dragging their feet to hurt us because A, we beat them, B, we use political pressure on them to send her in off to get this done, and they're really jerks. And so we finally asked the judge to have a hearing because they kept lying to us. They said they sent the papers to Treasury, then we found out they didn't, and they said they did, then we found out they didn't. So you want to kind of explain what happened in the hearing?
Well, it is difficult to make the federal government do anything. This has been ridiculously slow. So this last week, we requested the court's assistance, and I guess it was Thursday, the judge has ordered the Justice Department to just release the settlement funds by February 18th, and if the Justice Department fails to make that happen, the judge said he will seriously consider starting to award interest, which will be significant. So I believe that's the last thing we needed to do. We still need to see it happen, but I believe that the judge was very stern about it, issued a very stern order. So I believe we finally are on track. Bank of Oklahoma will be administering the settlement payments. We are finalizing the agreement. Bank of Oklahoma has been a little bit slow, but we expect to finalize that early this week, and I believe we're on track.
So the funds will go to a tribal trust account that immediately go into a trust account at the Bank of Oklahoma, then the Bank of Oklahoma will immediately, the accounts are already set up to distribute checks to the people.
There are 561 individuals who will be receiving, who are eligible and who will be receiving payments, most of whom are Quapaw, the large portion of whom are Quapaw. Most, by and large, 90% have been really patient. We do get a lot of calls. We appreciate the patience. The most difficult ones are really some of the older people who are ill and really need this money now. And I just want everybody to know the entire team has been doing the best we can. You can only move so fast. You can only push so hard. You can't go to the court every week. But we've really, I believe, we have what we need now to wrap this up.
So we were reluctant to go back to Senator Inhofe again because we wanted to show him that we were working in the courts as well. So he's queued up to help us if we need him. I will say something funny that happened during the hearing. So the lawyer for the 36 people that separated out, Mr. Barker, he's on the phone, and during the hearing, he's talking about his new cover he's going to put on his patio during the hearing, and the judge had to ask him to put his phone on mute because he wasn't even paying attention. They were talking about his new patio cover. Okay, so let's, any other new business? Oh, Tamara's on me about this. Okay, the Quapaw Nation plate we did. Youth suicide prevention strategic plan.
There's nothing in here, I really don't know.
It was a 26-page document, and I wasn't gonna print it, that's why I sent it via email.
Okay.
Read that.
I haven't read it, so we'll do that phone poll. Is that okay with everybody? For the strategic youth suicide prevention program, suicide plan. Is that okay with y'all?
Yes.
Do a phone poll?
I've read it, I just know that, my opinion on the lead responsible person needs to be uniform, not just a name and then initial, it should be uniform the whole way.
That makes sense. So that's something you might make note of. Next up, we have resolution 011819C. What is it C?
Because, I got
It's the, when she received
Mandy's
them,
resolutions for adoption first.
Oh, okay.
so they're numbered.
Your
as they
fault,
come in.
Mandy.
Sorry, it's numbered, they're numbered as they came in, but I did notice it says 19 instead of 20. All of them do actually.
No, what?
The resolution numbers, it should be.
But on the resolution itself, it's got.
Oh.
20.
Oh, no,
Oh, on
this
the
is,
resolution,
this
okay.
is the adopt.
Yeah, but on the agenda it says 19, and it's actually 20, so it's not really a correction, it's just a point of information.
All right, so that one, we have a resolution making certain assurances of, oh, so that's, man, oh wait, is this the block?
That's the block,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's resolution 011820C on the resolution itself. The Quapaw tribe has determined, it's a resolution making certain assurances and adopting certain policies and procedures in connection with an application for a public facilities Indian Community Development Block Grant, ICDBG project for 2019-2020. So basically, this is just part of the boilerplate work that is necessary to apply for a ICDBG grant, which if you'll recall, that's a grant that you all did to originally build a community building, wasn't it? I think Boyd was on that. So, does anybody want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, we got a motion by Tammy, we have a second.
Second.
Boyd, second. Do we have any discussion? Any discussion?
Question?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. I think we'll do resolution A and B in closed session, right? Or we'll discuss them. All right, that's it for new businesses. Is there any old business? I think we covered some of the old business. I don't know if it's new business or old business. Some of this stuff is just so ongoing, it's hard to sort of define them. But do we have any other old business? Are we planning another trip for elders this year, Grace?
We're looking at some things now, some
Okay.
suggestions have come in, but no, we haven't started the process yet.
Okay, cool. All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, could you just give us a little update on the Constitution issue?
Yeah, actually, that has been so hard to find somebody, but I've got 3 guys that are working on it right now. Paul Moorhead, Kevin Wadzinski, and a guy named John Dawson. They're all 3 really good Indian lawyers. They're working on a presentation, and we're trying to work on some dates for them to come. I was talking to Paul yesterday. We've scoured the country, and there's some people that do it, but they don't do it very well. There's some really bad constitutions out there, and you know, I think that would be a death knell to us all and drive us crazy. So I'm hopeful by next business committee we'll have a plan for the start of the process. The plan would be to have some like a conference or something, some educational deal where they go through a program of how you build a constitution before we even start trying to make a cut at it. So there'll be an educational process, then from that we'll create a constitutional committee, and then it'll take a while because as we build it, we're gonna need to go out and, you know, get input from not only people that come to business committee, but we have to reach out to tribal members around the country and the world to see if we can get their feedback as we go through this process. So it'll probably be a fairly long process, but I think it's something that we've tried before 3 or 4 times, and we're gonna try it again, but that's the latest. I think Paul said in the next couple of weeks, They've also talked about a company called Falmouth, which we used during our cases against the United States at Tar Creek. They were good, but they said the problem with Falmouth is they have a lot of turnover, and they just hand them a packet, and then the new guy just goes and reads it and doesn't really understand it, so they didn't think that was probably one of our better choices, because these guys are attorneys, these guys work with constitutions, and they're interested in helping us out. And we currently use Kevin and Paul in our office in DC for a lot of stuff. Paul helps us with USDA issues. He's helped us in our case there, and he's the one that helped us get the congressional reference through. And he's already we're in the process right now of writing a proposed template for legislation for the payment for the bear case. We have sponsors already lined up. We're going to start in the House, since that's where it originated at. So we've got sponsors in Tom Cole, Deb Holland, who's a Democrat from New Mexico, Mark Wayne Mullen, who's a Cherokee, Tom Cole's a Chickasaw. And once we get the draft, those congressmen, and once we get past this crazy trial in the Senate, we'll have the process of starting around for more sponsors. Then it'll have to probably go to the Finance Committee, and then we'll work our way through the Finance Committee, get it out to the full House, get the full House to vote on it, and then it'll go into the Senate when they do the next appropriations, or however we can find to stick it on an appropriation. Currently, the plan is to divide it up over 5 or 7 years. We're hoping for 5. It's the last conversation I had with Tom Cole. He said he thought that if we divided it up into 5, he could probably roll it through pretty well. He's got a good caucus of bipartisan Native Americans that are wanting to help us, and there's people that aren't Indians that are on the Native American caucus that want to help. So I think it's prime time. We might even try for 3 years or something. It all kind of depends on the length of this goofy trial that's just going to start on Tuesday, and that's sort of tied up everybody and everybody's attention. So the first week in February, I'm going to meet with some of the Congress people. We're going to start talking about the draft of what we got, what they want to see, start working through that process. So when Congress gets back in full-blown session, we can start pushing it through the Finance Committee. So
on the Constitution Committee, or Constitution, I saw you send that email. I think Callie and you had us look at it or whatever. So do we need to take any action on, I mean, maybe not today, but send it to everybody, or do we just?
I think what I'd rather see is what Paul's gonna send us, so we can all look at that.
Okay.
Because they've been working hard. It's really hard to find people, because a lot of tribes now have constitutions, so it's not a big business.
Yeah.
And the guys that are out doing it are the ones that screwed up CNA's constitution. I mean, I don't know if y'all, I'm an Osage. That Osage constitution is screwed up bad. They say sometimes a giraffe was a horse made by a committee, and that's kind of what they got at Osage. Jeff standing there doesn't have any, no one knows who's in charge at Osage, so it's typical Osage stuff.
But he'll have it to us.
Yeah, before next business committee, we'll have something to look at and start setting out guidelines for how we get to a constitution.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, anything else in old business? I know that Debbie, I'm just kind of jumping around, but and this is sort of part of old business. I know y'all came in for the Social Services Committee, but since Michelle's husband's not here, I was wondering if y'all want to wait or not. We could talk about that before we go to closed session, but Michelle really, I think, wants to be part of that discussion, so you might just consider that. So first we'll go with donations. Quapaw Cub Scout Pack 70, they want $1,500.
Something I'm going to point out is, it says we donated $1,500 on 11/15/18. We also donated $1,500 on 7/20/19. And I think we probably did the 15. There's 3 Quapaws that participated, and so that must be where the 1,500 came from. But I'm like, don't know. So now they're just all automatically requesting $1,500 every time they make a request.
Tamara, I had the same thoughts in the last 14 months, under 14 months, we give them $3,000.
Yeah.
In less than 6 months, we give them $1,500.
Right, yeah.
So I would be opposed to it.
Just,
Part of our donation policy is that organizations can apply for donation requests quarterly.
right, but we don't have to do the $1,500. And do you know, do they still have 3 Quapaw tribal members?
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
and do you keep track of, because when they say, we get a lot of these, we don't ask the names, but it'll say, 4 Quapaws. But do you keep track of who those Quapaws are, so we don't just keep to the same group or whatever?
Yes, ma'am.
But I mean, they're saying that the dues are $60 per child for this derby or whatever it is. A little, what do you call that thing? I saw it on here a minute ago.
Soapbox.
So, okay, Pinewood, regional
Pinewood.
Pinewood derby. So I'm like, well, why do we pay, why are we gonna pay $15?
I just put wheels on my chunk of wood and didn't carve it.
So I don't know, I don't wanna, I just feel like we've done quite a bit for them in the last.
So, just move on, no action? Anybody want to take action? Anybody? Okay, we'll move to the next one. Blue Jacket Public School Expedition Yellowstone. Quapaw 2343, Catherine Hawk Shelton. Trip chaperone, contact person, Sean Martin. We have been selected as the first school in Oklahoma to bring 40 students to Yellowstone National Park for 3 days to study science. Please see attached. We will be studying in cabins provided by the Department of Interior from April 24th to 27th. Each day to begin at 6 a.m. and work with scientists from multiple fields while learning about and enjoying the beauty of Yellowstone.
And I read through the backup that they submitted in our packets, and I don't believe there are any Quapaws that are a part of this. I mean, that's just, I know that isn't always our decision for. I mean,
Oh,
that's
the
not
chaperones, Quapaw.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd make that comment.
Anybody want to take action? Anybody want to take action? Moving on. Benefit for Sheila Nolte. Sheila is not a tribal member, but other family members are. Contact person, Donna Halls.
This person.
We need 100 pounds of ground meat. Would appreciate if that, any that you could donate. Sheila's having a kidney transplant. They're trying to raise money for the expenses. Gonna be at the Elks Club, the silent auction. They're expecting 500 to 600 people.
Does I don't know this individual, does anyone know anything? No?
Does anybody know who the other family members are that are local?
I contacted them, no answer.
Anybody want to take action? Well, alright,
I don't know.
Rich Day. Alright, Miami High School, we got a Quapaw number 3557. Toy Harris, is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know, she's the contact. I think that this actually came in on behalf of Rachel Huey, yes. And there, in the packets, there was a back at the top a little bit about, but I think there's actually 2 Quapaws.
2 Quapaws, yep, 62 members, 2 Quapaws. They're asking
Yeah.
for $950 each. Anybody want to take action for the 2 Quapaws?
Mr. Chairman, I would move the last $500 on each.
Do you have a second?
I'd second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. Next,
Did you?
Caroline Harkins,
She's a tribal member.
travel member.
Now, is she?
Mission trip to Dominican Republic in August 4th through 11th. We're going to villages to feed children and give them orphans and anything they need. Personal and social media appreciation, Quapaw Nation, and we'll wear Quapaw shirts. How many Quapaws are going? Just her?
It's just
Oh, she just wants the 1,700 for her.
Yeah, is she, I thought she might be here today, but she's not in high school anymore, right? Does anybody know her? I mean, I know who she is, but I don't know if I think she graduated a couple of years ago, so do you remember? Okay, I'm thinking of you, okay, education, I'm sorry, the court, never mind.
Has she been in your course?
I don't have the prosecutor.
But I think she did graduate a couple years ago.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've had her on ATEC scholarships.
Okay, so she's definitely out of high school, I just wanted, I didn't know if this was like.
The tribal
The name
members-
sounds real familiar to me.
Probably,
I wanna
yeah,
say it's with
yeah.
the Miami Assembly, that they go to the Dominican
I
Republic.
took my daughter and we did a little mini Dominican Republic where we fed a bunch of people. There's 4 people there.
Yeah.
If anyone want to take action for the single Quapaw, going to the Dominican.
I'd say the last 500.
We have a second? Second by Boyd, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Abstention, motion passes by unanimous consent. Are we back on the flow?
Thank you for getting back on track, yes.
Alright.
Now that we're,
Now we're
now that we're done, we're back on track.
I lost my, Alright. Open forum, anybody open forum? Any open forum? Yes, ma'am.
When you were asking about the elders, if we had any plans coming up, I know last year, Business Committee went ahead and asked downstream for a December date. So is that possible then?
For the dinner?
This year?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
pretty
we better
sure
get on it.
I think,
That's
I think
why
it's
I
already
thought I
booked.
better bring it up.
I think it's already booked, but I don't know the date.
Knowing Tina, it's already booked.
It is, she told me she did, but I don't remember what the date was, but we'll make sure by
Thank
then.
you. Okay.
And we're looking for a dance harvest.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Rachel, the funny thing is, they're like, we want to dance so we can all dance, right? So we found a band, and then they're like, hey, we decided we want a harpist. We're like, how do you dance to a harpist?
Well, our first choice on that, didn't come. So,
Worked out.
Plan B.
We had a mini Elvis at Downstream this week. All right, so we're gonna go to closed session where we talk to Mandy, Social Services Committee again. We can talk, and Michelle was wanting to be part of that discussion. But if y'all wanna come in, we can talk, and then we can talk some more. And then we got Eric, and that's it. So that's 10:32, we'll go to closed session. 11:40, police report. Mike's on, we're back at 11:40. Tamara, please report.
Okay, we just discussed a few things in closed session today. We talked to our NHL welfare director and about 2 adoptions, and we have resolutions to follow. We also met with our social services committee and just discussed some of the logistical things that they do, and we also met with our CFO. And so I don't know if anybody would like to make motions.
Do we need to make motions to approve those resolutions?
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, needs to be separate motions, and I would move to adopt for resolution 011820A.
Any discussion?
Question?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. Does anybody want to make a motion to B?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I think Zach won.
Second, beat me.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Without further discussion, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes by unanimous consent. All right, go ahead and, Zach, you want to say a prayer?
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to be here today and work for the Quapaw Nation. Please be with Michelle's husband, get him better, be with anybody who's suffered any losses or has a sick family right now, make them better. Be with everybody as they travel home, keep them safe. In your son's name, amen.
Amen. Good job. Thank you.
11:41.